Hello guys and gals, Buffalo here. It's a beautiful day here on the Buffalo Range. It is a bit windy, but otherwise it's very nice. Today we're going to do kind of a part 3 on the patterning buckshot that I've been doing. Last time we used the Maverick, the Mossberg Maverick 88, which had a 20-inch cylinder bore barrel. This barrel does not accept choke tubes, so this time I've got my Beretta Extrema 2. I had a lot of people ask how buckshot would perform through different chokes. So this thing does accept choke tubes. I've got 3 chokes we're going to use today. I've got a full, a modified, and an improved cylinder. I've got targets at 20 yards, just like last time, last week's video actually. So we're not going to use cylinder since we already did that last week. And we're only going to use the standard old standby double-aught buck and the Federal Flitecontrol double-aught buck. This happens to be the personal defense variety. Going to see what differences we get between the chokes. For you guys that don't know, choke is just a constriction at the muzzle of the shotgun barrel, and it works really well for birdshot loads and target loads like number 8s and number 6 birdshot. You can control the size of your pattern at a given distance by changing the choke in your shotgun. A lot of shotguns, have a fixed choke, meaning you can't change the choke out. You've got what you've got, and it'll usually be marked on the barrel, modified, full. It'll usually have some kind of a marking on the barrel telling you what the choke is. So this will give you guys an idea that have fixed chokes, what your shotgun might do with buckshot. And also you guys that have shotguns with interchangeable chokes. Now, every shotgun's different. You'll want to test your own and get your own results. We're just having some fun here at the range and getting a rough idea of what's going on here. I heard from several of you guys that the Flitecontrol, which has done awesome for us in the past 2 videos that I've tested this stuff, but both those were with cylinder bore shotguns. I've heard from several of you that the Flitecontrol doesn't work as well when you choke it. So we're going to try choking it down and see what kind of results that'll give us. I think that's all I wanted to say before we get started here. I'll go ahead and put this, we'll start with the improved cylinder, which is the least amount of constriction that we're going to use today. Cylinder is no constriction. Improved is just a little more, adding a little constriction. Modified, adding more constriction. And full will give us the tightest constriction that we're going to use today. Doesn't necessarily mean the tightest pattern. I've got a video on choke tubes. Maybe you guys, some of you guys that aren't familiar with chokes should check it out. But there's a lot of other things that determine your pattern size other than just your choke tube, your shot shell, what it's made of, your components. Lead shot can handle more choke than, say, steel shot or, heavy shot, tungsten. That kind of stuff doesn't require as much choke to get a tight pattern. You can actually overchoke the stuff. And that's what we're going to test. This is just lead double-aught buck, but it's large, much larger than birdshot. So we're just going to test and see how it reacts to choke. I'm going to stop rambling and get started. Anytime you change your choke tubes, always make sure your gun's empty and your action is locked open, because you're working right at the muzzle. Make sure I've got, no, that's full. We don't want full yet. Improved cylinder. And I've already got the choke that was in here out. So, let me change the camera angle here where you guys can see me shoot these targets, and we'll get started. All right, again, we're at 20 yards from the target. I had some questions last time, some people questioning why in the world I would shoot at 20 yards. The only reason I chose 20 yards is because I wanted a reasonable chance of catching all the pellets on that cardboard target so that we can see the actual pattern. And I wanted the distance to be far enough that we would actually get some difference in the pattern sizes that we could see. You know, at at 7 yards, any of these loads is going to pattern, you know, really, really tight. So I wanted to give it a chance to spread a little, and 20 yards just happened to be the distance I chose. Just like the simple reason I chose this shotgun is because it's the one I have on hand that accepts choke tubes that we can change out easily. So there's your reasoning for that. We're going to start out with the target on the left with the Federal Flitecontrol Personal Defense double-aught buck. That was the improved cylinder. Now we'll move to the target on the right with the Rio Royal Buck. Just a standard, very standard buckshot load, 9 pellets. Both of these are 9 pellet loads. Still improved cylinder. All right, I'm going to go mark these targets, set them to the side, switch the choke tube over to the modified, and we'll do it again. Okay, so I took the targets down, marked them, installed the modified choke tube. We're ready to go again. Federal Flitecontrol up first. And our Rio. Well, here goes again. Okay, we're now at full choke using the Federal Flitecontrol up first. If I didn't show you guys that box, there's kind of what it looks like. Okay, so I'll go gather these targets together and we'll take a look at our results. You people, I can't believe you guys let me shoot without my glasses. I'm very disappointed. Seriously guys, things like that happen sometimes. I love wearing a ball cap, especially out in the sun. I've got a bald head, so I like to keep the sun off of it. But it's the worst thing in the world. I end up putting my glasses up there and I forget about them. So it happens sometimes. Don't shoot without your glasses. I apologize for doing so myself. Let's move on. Okay guys, slight change of plan. I'm going to go ahead. I've installed the cylinder choke, which is basically like a choke. There's no constriction in the muzzle. You know, we did that with the 88 last week, but different shotguns are going to give different results. So while we're doing this, I thought it would be best if we went ahead and had a no choke pattern to compare them to with both these loads. So cylinder bore, Federal Flitecontrol. And our Rio. All right, now let me get the targets together and we'll take a look at them. Okay, so we're going to look at the Federal Flight Control stuff first. This was cylinder, improved cylinder, modified, and full. With the cylinder bore, we got the best pattern. If I can pull that loose. Out of all 4 chokes. So the Flight Control definitely works the best with the with no choke cylinder bore. Here's your 9 pellets, and this of course is just damage from where that wad hit. I got 5 1/4 inches from the farthest 2 pellets. Really more like 5 1/8 or so, but still pretty good pattern, depending on what you're using it for. You know, some people like tighter patterns, some people like a wider spread. This is not me endorsing one way or another. This is just showing how they spread. So with the improved cylinder, which was adding a little bit of choke to the barrel, our pattern jumped up to 7 inches from the farthest 2 pellets apart. Still pretty good dense pattern there. And when we went to modified, we jumped up to 7 3/4 inches. Again, this damage up here is just where the plastic wad passed through. And the full, you know, kind of weird, the patterns were getting larger as we added choke, but with the full, we got a 6-inch pattern, but actually, if not for this one flyer, we had about a 3 1/2 inch pattern there. Remember, we shot about a 3 1/4 inch. That's about what we shot out of the Maverick 88 with the cylinder bore. So, as far as this goes, not with the flyer, but so that's kind of interesting that once we got tightened up to a full choke, it actually done a little better than it had with the modified or the improved cylinder, but not quite as good as it did with the cylinder bore. All right, so I've got our Rio targets here. Let me measure these and get them lined up, and we'll look at those next. Okay, so we've got the Rio Royal Buck patterns lined up here, from cylinder to full, just like we did with the Flight Control. So right off the bat, you'll notice much larger patterns. The this stuff gave us a 18 1/4 inch group or pattern, measured from the farthest 2 apart, and it's a nice even spread, a really large pattern. So if you're looking for a good spread, you know, standard buck's probably the way to go. If you're looking for tight patterns, that Flight Control stuff's hard to beat. So 18 1/4. So how did the choke, adding choke, affect it? Well, with the improved cylinder, we dropped that considerably down to 10 3/4 inches. With the modified, we cut another inch off of it, down to 9 1/4, an inch and a half off of it. Nice even pattern. And with the full, we shrunk it down to 8 inches. So the chokes work with the standard lead non-buffered buckshot how you would expect. The more constriction in the muzzle, the tighter groups we got, or patterns. I keep saying groups, but the more constriction, the tighter the pattern with the standard buckshot. With the Flight Control, of course, it was a little bit different. We actually got a better pattern with the cylinder, and we got worse with the improved cylinder, and worse again with the modified, and then it tightened back up with the full. So strange results with the Flight Control, which some of you guys probably expected. That wad is designed to stay with the buckshot as it exits the barrel, and then it releases by opening up from behind and just kind of pulls off with a buckshot. So if you're hitting a choke, a constriction, you know, it's probably causing it to release some of that shot when it hits that choke, and causing a little more spread than it would out of a straight cylinder bore, where the Flitecontrol wad can do its job and keep the shot together farther down range. So, you know, I'm not an expert on it. I'm just guessing that's probably what's happening. The standard buckshot, I've heard people say that you can't use a choke to tighten it down. Obviously you can. It reacted to the choke tubes much in the way that a standard birdshot load would. The tighter the constriction, the tighter the pattern. But that only works up until a certain point, of course. You know, you can over choke anything if you put too much constriction in a barrel. You know, some of these turkey chokes on the market today add just a tremendous amount of constriction, and I wouldn't even shoot large pellets like double-aught buck through a turkey choke. Just my own opinion. I wouldn't even do that. So that's our results. I found it interesting. I hope you guys did too. Remember, all the links to my social media accounts are in the video description. A new link in there is called the Reloaders Network. Go check it out. It's a pretty good place to hang out. A lot of people sharing information over there. But that's basically all I got today, guys. I'll talk with y'all again soon.